I want to know that the world isn't as crazy as people say it is. Not just on TV, but even the people in my own life who think that their grandparent or their grandkids are not going to survive. And I just think every person that says that, look at your generation. Look how bonkers that was.
Yeah.
But you were anchored into some sort of hope, because there's always, within a generation, Americans who rise up and say, not on my watch.
Man, that's downright mindful.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
We just become best friends. Yep.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I don't need backups. I'm going to Harvard.
Remember these words. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I still have a dream.
Welcome to Downright Mindful, a meeting place where we explore meaning, seek connections, and examine the relationships between people, events, and the ideas that shape our world. Hosted by me, Matt Paris, my friend and colleague Paul Sawswell, each episode will dive into thoughtful conversations that spark reflection and curiosity. Thanks for joining us. Now let's get right down to it.
All right, Matt Paris. You ready?
I'm not hearing anything in my headphones.
You ain't ready.
Check one, check one, check one. Well, I hear that.
I can hear you.
I can hear that. I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear the air conditioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ran out of ice, so you're not going to hear any crunch.
No crunches.
Nope.
All right. Yeah, that's hot now. That's good.
Hey, did y'all know that we are educators, so fair use policy could support our court case if anyone tried to sue us?
Sue us for what? Anything?
For copyright infringement, man. Do you know how many songs I want to play on here and quote on here? And
So you've done some research?
a little bit, yeah, fair use, man.
Okay.
I had to do it for journalism to understand kind of like what we're working with here. I never like put anything out in the world, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So is there like some limitations on like if I play 30 seconds of a song versus playing the entire song, or no?
It's all arguable in the courts.
Okay.
But we have at least one leg to stand on as educators.
Okay.
Nobody else has a leg to stand on. Just us.
I got you.
To our advantage.
Okay.
You with me on that?
Yeah.
So 6 things today. You ready?
Okay.
First thing. Avett Brothers.
All right.
You listen to that song?
I did. I listened to it.
First response. Go.
Well, I listened to it once through yesterday, and then on the way here today, I got about halfway through the first verse, and you and I started talking, and it's a very it's a very peaceful song. It's it goes a lot to like all these fights that I've been in, all of this angst and all of this stress. At a certain point in life or toward the end of life, why does any of that matter? But I mentioned this to you earlier. The first line grabs me, and I'm trying to think of that line. When my
body won't hold me anymore.
Yeah, when my body won't hold me anymore. So already this writer's painting this imagery for me that I am not my body. So there's sort of a spiritual sense to this, and that I am something that will escape and go almost like this wild being that's being bound by this like bag of flesh.
And it finally, what a word, lets me free.
Yeah, that's it. When my body won't hold me anymore and it finally lets me free, meaning that somewhere in here I'm this free spirit, but for now I'm sort of ball and chain to this bag of bones. And yeah, man, that grabbed me pretty quick. I'm in with that.
Will I be ready? Will my hands be steady? And he goes through all these things of giving up his rings and giving up his keys to his house. And then each stanza ends with no hard feelings. can I get to that place? Like, this is kind of like, so I've watched their documentary. They've worked with Rick Rubin. Me and the boys, my older boys, went and saw them down in Atlanta. And it is one thing to love music in an AirPod.
Sure.
Coming out of a computer, coming out of a good speaker at home. It is another thing live, man. And it was, gosh, I mean, it just continues to just reverberate, resonate. I mean, just whisper to me. And this is one of the songs that has not left me alone. Hasn't left me alone. So I'm going to give you more Avid Brothers.
Okay.
Josh, you got to get into this. Avid Brothers at all? Is that on your playlist?
I do love the Avid Brothers, but I'm not like, and I don't really tell this to a lot of people. I love listening, but if you told me the song name that you're talking about, I would have no idea what you're talking about. I would have to physically hear it.
Yeah.
I'm not good at remember. Maybe I just don't make that a priority, but I just don't listen to it.
I get it.
But what hit me though, when you talked about going to a concert and you get that feel from the music, here's what I thought of: sports. Watching on TV is one thing, but being there live is a totally different feel. So just like with music, like when you're there and you're experiencing it live, you can see them playing the guitar, they're singing, they're sweaty, like all those weird things. It just hits different.
Yeah. Well, we got hit.
What room is this in? Where you at when you hear them live?
We went down to Atlanta to Gas South Arena.
I got you.
It's the venue is like they play minor league hockey down there, I think.
Okay.
I know they have a hockey team. I think they're not. Yeah, it's not big time. I don't think. I can be corrected if I'm wrong.
I don't know.
But this song, watch this, continues, and this is why I brought this up today. First thing, it asks questions throughout the whole entire thing. Like, I love questions. I used to love answers because I was a pleaser and I wanted to be the kid in class, the kid in Sunday school, the kid in my house that could give an answer so that I could be patted on the head, patted on the shoulder, right? You are a good boy. Good job. Manhood has shown me something else, like through pain, through suffering, through success, through authentic effort that maybe didn't lead to anybody noticing, but it was worth every bit of what I gave, right? To me, it's almost coming all the way back to that first line where like, the body won't hold me anymore. I feel held sometimes, and it finally let me free. I don't feel free sometimes. And so as a younger man, I thought if I found answers, that was freedom. Now I find a lot of freedom in asking questions. And I know that I live in the deep end. I'm a 4 on the Enneagram, so we're going to have to bring that up sometime and find out what the two of y'all are. Josh, Enneagram?
Have no idea.
Matt?
I think I've done it at one point in time, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, this is
You
something.
and I have had this conversation.
This is something I've looked into a couple times. I have some friends that are pretty savvy in this world, and I don't remember my numbers. It's I want to say like a 5 wing 6 or something. Essentially, I'm it's all based on like a protector and an investigator, and
That's right. So they continue to go through the song. Where will I go? Like, I mean, they don't ever answer it. Tropical rain, snow from heaven. Will I join the ocean? Will I run to the Savior true and shake hands laughing? I mean, like, how fun is that? But he's not looking for answers. He is looking to have, the last 3 lines says, 4 lines. I have no enemies. I have no enemies. I have no enemies. I have no enemies. And to me, the vibe isn't like he's trying to convince himself so he can rest, but like he actually has discovered that maybe reconciliation is possible. So we talk about criminal justice guy. I mean, it's just, that's conflict. Criminal is the conflict. Justice is how do we rehabilitate? How we reconcile? How do we continue to move on? I mean, this is kind of where I'm not going anywhere with this, but I'm giving you this because I am going to ask you either in later on questions between your and I's friendship, hanging out all the time, but questions that just hit, but questions in music that hit. Bob Marley talks about in Trenchtown Rock that, music hits. Sure. That's why it's so powerful, because you feel no pain. So hit me with music. And so this song really hit me even more so live in the concert. And the reason why is because it's asking so many questions. So I would say to you off the top of your head, can you think of other songs that just seemingly ask questions without seeking answers? Love songs, they're looking for answers. They're looking for affirmations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's sometimes, man, where it's just like, man, this feels more like this speaks to the thing that is trying to get out of this body to me. Can you think of another song off the top of your head? If not, we'll just pause it, table it, come back to it at another time. But
not off the top of my head, I can't. I'm not going to say that's a new concept for me, because that's, you're literally talking, one of my teaching theories. I tell students all the time, like, hey, I don't want you to see me as someone who just gives you answers. I want you to see me sort of as this tour guide. And if I teach you anything in 3 semesters, I want to teach you how to ask questions, how to ask the right questions. So instead of trying to reel out an answer and trying to spit something out, I want to get back to you, and I want to explore that, because I'm stuck in this place of listening to songwriting that is saying something. And what's intriguing me right now is people who are probably feeling things that are similar to things I've felt, and they've figured out nifty ways to say them. So let me go and approach some of the writing that I'm listening to from that standpoint. Who's asking questions here? So yeah, that's a very cool thought.
Because for me, as someone who Jesus means so much to me, Jewish rabbis mean a lot to me. And in the rabbinical tradition, to be a disciple, to be someone who gets tapped, to say, hey, come follow me and get covered in my dust and go everywhere that I go and do everything that I do and say what I say, so that you one day can do it without me. It was all about asking the next good question, not giving the answer. And to me, that's a life that's full. I think that's a mind that's full, that's a heart that's full, and it's full, ready to give.
Mm-hmm.
So questions and music. Look out for it when you're listening.
For sure.
All right. Still driving today, so here we go.
Keep driving, brother.
Number 2, second thing. I'm going to give you a quote. And hop in on this one, Josh. Tell me who said this. Tell me who you think said this. Okay. You got to give me a reason why you think it's that person. All right, so first you have free breakfast. Then you have free medical care. Then you have free bus rides. And soon you have freedom. Who would have said something like that?
Say it one more time, Paul.
Yeah. First you have free breakfast. Then you have free medical care. Then you have free bus rides. And soon you have freedom.
Do I have to guess? Because I have no clue who said that.
Okay, so pull from all of the influential historical figures in your catalog of information in your brain.
Fairly recent?
I ain't giving you no clues whatsoever at the beginning.
You don't give me
Not
a decade?
Yet. Oh, no, not yet. I don't give you nothing except just the thing. Josh looks like he's about to say something.
This is taking me to like Michelle Obama. Like, that's my best guess.
Why? You got to give a why, though.
Just because of, sort of her political leanings, and I kind of understand the way that she views the world, and I do know that she paid a lot of attention to schools and funding, and even all the way down to dietary regulations.
She changed our cafeteria food, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
Especially at Walker Valley on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh?
I don't know who it would be, but it sounds like a progression of free breakfast, free bus rides. And then it's just kind of a build-up. So it doesn't seem like someone that said this 100 years ago. This would have to be maybe in the last 15 years, maybe.
Give me something then.
Man, I don't know who. I don't know who. But it sounds somebody recent.
Give me a name.
I don't have a name.
You have 1,000 gazillion names in your brain. Pick one out.
There's not a name that pops in just a time period.
This is the game.
I'm a weird.
This is the second thing.
It's not Danny Coggin, is it?
It is not Danny
No?
Coggin.
Okay. I'm reeling here.
Okay. You ready? Since you gave me a second name, it gets you off the hook. Okay, I need at least 2 names every time. At least I give you another thing. Okay, so you got to back up in time. So I'll give you that. So let's back up 50, 60 years. Can we read the quote again?
50, 60 years?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Are we going Martin Luther King Jr. here?
Okay, why would you say that Martin Luther King Jr. said, first we have free breakfast, then you have free medical care, then you have free bus rides, and soon you have freedom?
I'm just trying to think.
Does that sound like Dr. King?
Well, no, not necessarily, but I mean, this is a progressive mind 50 to 60 years ago. Someone that's
that changes a little bit. Because to me, like, free medical, like, I don't know, to me, free medical care, that's been not that, I don't know, maybe it has been 50, 60 years for that.
Buddy, I'm stumped.
You gave me Dr. King. Give me one more name, or else this really is going somewhere.
Bobby Kennedy.
Why would he say such a thing?
Same approach as what brought me to Dr. King, but just a little more someone who's literally talking social issues on a political level at that time.
So when he's working for his brother as Attorney General, do you know who he's fighting, basically?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so he's going after organized crime. He's that guy.
He's the RICO guy?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. His brother dies. He becomes senator of New York. And he begins to travel. Slums of Harlem, poor Appalachia, the Mississippi Delta, American Indian reservations. He goes and visits Cesar Chavez while he's in the middle of a fast and protest of what's going on out there. So, I mean, like, he begins to see the world. This is like Last Days Bobby Kennedy. That was a great guess.
I didn't get it.
No.
Oh, man. Am I close?
I mean, you're in the right time frame.
Okay.
But this, Bobby Kennedy's going to pass away. Dr. King is going to pass away. 5 weeks away, apart from each other. Okay. But then there will be another young fella who will rise up and become a voice. I'm going to read you one more, and then I'm going to ask for one more guess. I'm going to give it to you.
Is it, okay, does he become president eventually?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Keep going.
No. We've got to face the fact that some people say you fight fire best with fire. We say you put fire out best with water. We say you don't fight racism with racism. We're going to fight racism with solidarity.
This almost sounds like a little Bob Marley.
Is Malcolm X here?
These are 2 excellent guesses. Good job, fellas. See, now you're playing my game. Thank you. Welcome to the circle. So you're in the ring now. You're in the arena. Okay, but you got to explain why you both just said that.
So like recently I just watched Bob Marley's the movie, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole time, like, he's fighting for all these things that he experiences or not, and everybody sees it. So it could be these quotes are based off what people are experiencing, and not necessarily everybody sees them, maybe.
Yeah, that's great, because Bob Marley is way more than 3 little birds.
Yeah.
Right? He is, I mean, he truly, when you're looking at his life, then you understand his music. Great guess. No. You said Malcolm X.
Oh, man, it's very simple. I'm just, I feel like you told me I was in the right ballpark, so I'm just trying to progress into different voices in that time.
So if I throw the name out Fred Hampton to y'all, do you even know who this guy is? Because you just put him in a realm of minds and hearts and American figures that just catapults him to some kind of something. Am I right or am I right?
Sure.
Because if you're saying he sounds like these folks, and I'm telling you that he is saying these things on a very public platform, and that he will eventually be killed for these beliefs by quite possibly a government agency, that he is taken out because he is being tracked by the FBI, because he is becoming what Hoover would call him as the Black Messiah. King is gone. X is gone. What organization rises up that Dr. King has a really hard time with, and they adopt Stokely Carmichael's Black Power? Who am I talking about right now?
The Panthers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get their start in Oakland. You know how they get their start?
Fred Hampton's the leader.
Well, Not yet. Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, Oakland, California.
But I know this name for some reason. Keep going.
Free breakfast, right?
Sure.
Free medical care. We're going to take care of our own people. We're going to take our guns to the corner. And when police stop our people, we're going to roll up with our guns because California says we can open carry. Now, eventually they would take their guns to the Capitol because it was still legal. And within the year, it was no longer legal because the Panthers ended up in Sacramento. But this movement spreads across the country and makes it to Chicago. And a young Fred Hampton in his early 20s. Solidarity to him meant if you're poor, you're oppressed. And if you're oppressed, we're in this together. So, hey, blacks, hey, Latino gangs, hey, white gangs. And he literally is bringing people together. And that's what scares Hoover and the FBI. I'm not going to say more than Dr. King, but at a level where Hoover sees the potential for all of these groups coming together in a movement. And the unknown is so big that, it's in FBI files. We got to take this guy out. So eventually the cops would come into his apartment and shoot him in his sleep. There is a movie that came out a couple years ago called Black Messiah, and it's the Fred Hampton story, and it is super powerful. And y'all walked right in, not to my trap, but what I thought was going to be, let's give credit where credit is due, but yet we don't really know this guy. He's the Bayard Rustin of the March on Washington, 1963. It's King giving an I Have a Dream speech, but somebody had to organize 250,000 people getting there. That was not Martin Luther King Jr. It was someone else. And I'm fascinated by the someone else's. And so for me, second thing today was one of those someone else's. So I'm going to invite you in future conversations of play this game with me. Give me something. Mm-hmm. And let me try to go there to see if I can make some connections. Because I threw out a title that you didn't like.
A title?
Collecting Clues. You called it elementary.
No, that was just my initial thought.
You literally called it elementary. And I volleyed right back fundamental. Because the fundamentals may seem elementary. But I love the idea of, hey, let's go find some of these other people. All right. Third thing, you ready?
Third thing, I'm ready.
Third thing. Totally different direction. So how do we get here? Basketball coaching terms, we're always trying to get players to change direction and change speed. Because if you just go in straight lines, it's very predictable how things are going. Life seems to naturally change directions and change pace even when we don't want it to. Paying athletes at all levels. Explain that to me. How did we get here? How did things change? How did the direction turn that quickly that we now can say, hey, even high school athlete, hey, University of Tennessee, 10% talent fee. Y'all seen this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah.
Now, if you know more, because that's all I know, is this every sport, every ticket? Who's getting all this
I think
stuff?
it's just for football right now, right?
I don't know.
But how do we get here?
I just heard of this.
And do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you get it? Where you at?
Well, I think, at some point, I think the next step is you let go of the term that we've held on for so long of student athletes. Because these are amateur professional or semi-professional athletes that are making a lot of money in some cases. So my mind wants to go to this place where I'm like, man, you know what? Why can't we just have a league for people who are of the college age to where they go and get paid? Paid. The answer is we already have it. It's there. It's we're here now, and even into high school. I don't know that I love it. I don't want to be the Mr. Wilson get off my lawn guy. But there's a lot of things that I don't know. This is just one of those topics where I feel like I'm this guy who wants to live in a world that doesn't exist anymore, which takes me back to a song lyric. Remind me of that, and I'll bring it up later. But it's one of those things for me, and I don't really have anything intelligent to say about it.
Well, give me that song lyric then.
Oh, it's an Isbell lyric, and I've shared it with you 1,000 times. He says, let's see, how's it go? Daddy says the river will always take me home, but the river won't take me back in time, and Daddy's dead and gone. And this guy, and he's literally saying, like, home is a world that it's not a place anymore. It's gone for me. And so now he's just wondering. And, I feel that way sometimes. And I feel that way. I'm not saying I'm so passionate about this topic and I hate it. I'm not saying that. It's this big tangled web that just seems to have no end. And every time I think we're going to take a step to sort of clean it up and make it better, we take a step in the other direction. So
you like high school players getting paid?
How do you feel about that? No, I don't. I don't like it at all. I don't like high school players garnering any special treatment. Period. I don't like high school players that don't get tardies for being late to class because they're high school football players or baseball or volleyball players. And that's a thing. We can sit and deny it all day, but it's a thing. It's real. And it's not widespread and it's not a problem. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying you're a high school student at this point. Now, if we had a world where a professional league of some sort for these players existed where they could go get paid, that child could choose to go virtual or at home learning and go make some money. But in a public high school, this is a public high school. You by law have to attend one of these things.
If you're on our way, we're going to go get you and bring you back.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
but in Europe, we have all these Europeans in the NBA right now. Aren't they playing professionally at like 16, 17?
They're playing club ball. Yeah, I mean, they're
getting paid to do it, right?
Oh, I'm sure they are.
We have footballers like soccer players over in Europe playing professionally at
but not
15, 16, 17. I mean,
that's right. I'm learning this recently from a European student who is just in awe of our high school athletics here. So I'm like, okay, you don't have like sports teams there? She's like, well, I mean, sometimes we have like clubs or whatever, but and football is a big deal there, soccer. And she's like, no, that like the competitive players, they play for clubs. Like there'll be a club in the community that'll have 2 or 3 teams for each age group, and those are skill levels according to her. And they have like for your age level, they have like an A team and a B team and so on and so forth. But it's not a thing in her high school. So she's just in awe of like even just like the Friday night experience here is
gotta be bonkers,
and
man.
That is fun, man. That's fun. I don't want to lose that. I never want to lose that. That's part of who we are. I mean, that's part of our culture.
Yeah.
But I don't want, I just don't like the idea of you are now some sort of celebrity because you run fast and you jump high.
Yeah, well, it kind of changes that mindset.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I lost my thought. But so 2 things. So like, it's almost like I had a cousin that played college ball at some like D3 big kind of school in Ohio, and he was told after games, make sure you have your pants hung up because they were going to put money in his pockets. And so I think like that stuff goes on all the time now. Like, I mean, it still goes on.
Sure.
But now maybe like paying them is a way to get around that. You just had so many people do it. So I think like, I don't know, paying them is one thing, but I think especially like not to dive into this football thing, but like when you have this portal that goes around and people are like, hey, listen, if you come to my school, we'll give you this amount of dollars. Like now it's becoming more professional built, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, aren't we about to open up a portal for high school students? They're at least considering it. Hey, you can transfer one time without any sitting it out.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
well, I mean, that's just like we did that here, with the quarterback situation. But my other thought to this whole, like, because you said they're like semi-pro, professional, getting paid, right?
Yeah.
You remember, y'all told me about this podcast, The Revisionist is History.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yep. I'm terrible names. But he talked about the guy from, what was it, California that was a great track and field runner. and he had played a sport. I think it was baseball, maybe. And he got paid for it. So all of his gold medals that he earned at the Olympics got stripped away. Yes,
Jim Thorpe. Yep.
Jim Thorpe got stripped away because he got paid. So that considered him to be a professional, right?
Yeah.
So same idea with these kids that are getting paid. Would you consider them a professional athlete at that point? And I didn't think about that thought until this moment.
I mean, we're giving high school kids the opportunity to get paid only because they put a uniform on.
Yeah, or even college.
Yeah,
kids.
but that's where the loophole is we're not paying them to play, quote unquote.
You're paying them for their
paying for their name, their likeness. You're advertising with their name order. But let me dumb it down a little bit. Let's hit pause on paying athletes. I'm so much of a person that sort of is disgusted with this world. There's a college football coach right now, and I'm not, I got a lot of friends who would fist fight me over this, but their coach is really bad, evidently, and they're about to fire this guy, but he's under contract, and it takes a $25 million payout for him to be fired, okay? The boosters of that program have said, we've raised the money, do what you need to do. Now, this is in the South, boys. So
I think we all know who you're talking about.
Let me introduce you to this idea. If I go to that booster club and I find their board of directors, how many of those people are walking into a church on Sunday morning? Or they're a deacon on their deacon board? Or they're some sort of Bible-toting Christian in the South? I'm not saying they all are, because that would be silly of me, but I'd be remiss if I didn't think that these people are involved in some sort of ministry somewhere. But they're saying we're going to pay $25 million because you don't want to have this coach coaching these kids right now. Not a year from now, right now. That's the world that I'm talking about. I'm just disgusted with it. I'm just like...
Well, now you're pushing me back into like... This is a consumerism.
What could we do with $25 million?
You know why that's even on the table? Because we are willing to pay that type of price to go see that event over and over and over. You cannot pay less than $40. They're now going to raise it for the talent fee, so maybe it's now going to be $50 or $60. If I want to take, I love the Bengals, born and raised, but for me to take my family of 5 to go see a Bengals game in the cheap seats, hundreds of dollars. But you know what? I've done it. I've done it because I wanted to have that experience because we've already said something live is different and something live shared even more so. And so that's we pay for experiences. This is my brother-in-law, Ben Davis, talking to me and us right now. He runs Breakout, right?
Sure.
People they're not paying to go to the movies. They're paying for an experience.
What's even like my kids, like me and my wife had this conversation as they get older, like we just keep buying this junk. Like, I say junk. That's my favorite word for the things they get. But it's just like junk we buy them. So then let's start paying for experiences.
But if we do, we're going to end up with paying out coaches $25 million because we want this event to continue to be this. Like the something that you described that you loved used to be nothing. So we always go from nothing to something. And then that something becomes something else. Like there was a time when you go back to the Jim Thorpe story, you're in 1913, baseball's in its infancy. There isn't even there's not an NFL yet. There's not an NBA yet. We don't have what will become, right? But somewhere along the way, there's always a line that gets crossed. This is the root of third thing today. Mm-hmm. How did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get from nothing to something, from something to this thing?
And then somewhere in between, you have the Herschel Walkers. You know this story? Donald Trump starting a football league, and he recruits the best running back in the nation.
I'm not running for office because Herschel just ran for office. Okay, No.
Herschel Walker, foregoes his
XFL. No.
Yeah, no, it wasn't
USFL.
USFL maybe.
Yeah, I think
this is back in the day. This
80s.
is
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
And Herschel Walker signs with Donald Trump foregoing his senior. He only played 3 years college ball. He's still statistically one of the greatest. Would probably be the greatest college running back of all time. But at some point, he realizes something's not what it's cracked up to be, and he wants to go back to Georgia, but he's signed, buddy. He is he's Dunskies.
Yeah.
So yeah, that in between, there's that story. But yeah,
So
it's just a tangled web to me.
So let's just hop from one web to the other because we're Spider-Man and we can do this.
Yeah.
So we're not stuck on anything.
No.
Okay, but I'm gonna give you another one though. So I've been married for 25 years. Sarah and I resist, to the best of our ability, conversations that are where we're debating what is good or bad, right or wrong, right? Because once you've picked a side, you've picked a side.
Sure. Yeah.
But for the health of our marriage, we use the word healthy or unhealthy. You follow me? It's subtle.
Yeah.
Maybe semantics, but it's a slight enough difference where it can make a difference where we're no longer debating, but we're discussing.
Uh-huh.
iPhone 16 is about to come out. Healthy or unhealthy for society? And what I mean, like, okay, we're here. There used to be an iPhone. Now there's an iPhone 16. There's going to be a 17. There's going to be an 18.
Yeah.
There's going to be a 27.
It's just going to keep growing, yeah.
It's going to get more expensive. It's kind of like the tickets we've been buying in this last conversation we just had.
Yeah.
So fourth thing, let's talk technology. iPhone, like necessary? Nah, it's consumerism. There's nothing that's seemingly necessary. I need shelter. I need to clothe myself from the elements. I need food. Give me some love. I'm taking care of my hierarchy of needs, right? But like, where does this head as well? But I'll also say, hey, iPhone 16, like, will you get it? Are you excited? Will you trade up? Will you trade in?
Well,
these are
I'm
two
still on a
different
year on
conversations.
this phone. I still have a year left. We can't upgrade, so.
But when the chance comes and you can upgrade, are you going to upgrade?
Maybe, I don't know. Like, I had my last phone for 4 or 5 years before it like broke, and my Amber was like, "We need to upgrade," so we both did it, right? So I don't know.
I'm not the guy who sees a piece of technology coming and I start making plans for it. My cell phone experience is pretty simple. When I feel like this cell phone is no longer fit to perform, or it's just so outdated and there's some kind of, if I'm 4 iPhones behind and this one starts puttering on me a little bit, I'll typically go and do the old trade in for either the newest one, or sometimes I have been, there's a deal on the 15, even though the 16's out, there's a really good deal on the 15. Sometimes I've done that.
That's what we've always done with game consoles in our house.
Yeah, right now I'm as current.
Never bought my boys a new one.
Yeah, I'm as current right now, I think, on cell phones as I've ever been. I think this is a 15
You got 3 cameras, man.
max, and it's really good. Like, I take a picture with this thing, it's a really good picture. It's unreal.
So I was fishing, and you said outdated. So that smartphone replaced the flip phone, which changed the world forever because there was a car phone, but that car phone, that was a status symbol. But then all of a sudden, we now have something that is very functional in our pocket, on our waist, in our purse, in our backpack, right?
Yeah.
And there's moments that I would love to go back to the flip phone. Would love it. But
Chris
I think
Cretton every day, baby. Chris Cretton.
but I think like now that I've experienced this world of like, hey,
It's
I can
awesome.
Google this, I can look this up. Like,
If
who
they-
won the ball game today? Like, I can do all that. To not have that,
So then what's
I don't
next?
know.
If they had a vote today, hey, majority wins, we're either going to keep going in the direction we're going, or we're all going to go back to Motorola Razors. What would you vote for?
Oh, that's a tough one.
If one of us does
if
it,
we all had to do it,
Razor.
I think if we all had to do it, and they're like, I would be happy to go back to flip phone. Just calling people, like, not have to worry about all these like things.
Man, I was a fan of the Nextel, the little
Yeah, it was like a walkie-talkie and
old
phone.
walkie-talkie
Yeah,
flip
yeah.
phones. Yeah,
I always
man.
wanted that. Always. But I wasn't a Nextel or was it Sprint that had that, right? Or was it Nextel was their own brand?
Nextel,
Or was their service provider, right?
I think Sprint may have been a service provider, but Nextel was like Nextel Wireless. Maybe that was this. I don't remember.
I don't remember
I just
either.
remember I was entering the law enforcement world, and everybody had one, and that's kind of
I couldn't
kind of
do
the
it.
life you
Whatever
live.
phone plan my parents paid for didn't have it.
yeah.
So Back to the Future, when he goes into the future, what year was that? Y'all remember?
2015, wasn't it?
So it's already come and gone.
Yeah.
You remember watching that movie and going, like 2. Like he's talking to his boss up on the big screen in his house. And I mean, even when we look at that, that's like pitiful now because we know what the capabilities are.
Yeah.
I mean, like, boys, for real, like what's next? What's next? Ready Player One? Did y'all see that one or read that book? You know that one? No. You know that one?
I know of it. I don't know it like you know it.
I mean, that's okay. You ready?
Yeah.
So that was 4th thing. 5th thing.
Hey, real quick before you move on to the 5th thing, I saw this meme.
Commercial break?
No, I saw this meme the other day, and I wanted to share it with you. It said in 1985, in Back to the Future, he traveled back to 1955, which would be now the equivalent of us traveling back to 1994. That hurt a little bit.
I lived in that world. I mean, like, I'm a junior in high school.
Yeah. Anyway, move on to your 5th thing. I just wanted to share that with you.
You're not even born yet.
In 1994?
Yeah.
I'm 10 years old. I'm 10 years old.
10. I was 6 years old. You weren't even born yet.
I was born then.
You were like 3.
I'm one year out of a snowstorm that's
I was born in
crazy.
86, so 94, what? 8?
Okay.
9?
All right. I'm a junior in high school. Okay.
It's always fun not to call people old or anything. I think it's always fun to like compare things. Like, when you were this age, I was
You're 10 years old.
Like,
Am I 10 years old, though? Those are 2 totally different things, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
were how old in 1994?
8, 9? I was born in 86.
Okay, yeah. So you and I are pretty similar in age.
So my 10 years old is 1987. I mean, we're talking Michael Jackson, Madonna, right?
Yeah.
We're all going to get, like, kidnapped, you know? I mean,
that's
like
the last year of the square body Chevrolet. Yeah.
You could have gave me 888 guesses, and that would not have made my list.
Really?
Yes.
Those old square bodies, man.
They were nice.
I think 87 was the last year. 88, they came out with a more rounded nose. Anyways, I'm off the trail.
Now and then. You ready? Now and then. I purposely did not look this one up.
Okay.
There is an election. So go with me on this. Now and then. So this is now. We legitimately have another woman candidate from Hillary Clinton, right? We have a 2-party system, and there's someone up. I got 2 questions. Who was the first legitimate, all right, woman is running for president, and she has people backing her? And I didn't look this one up right here. How many, did you and I have this conversation? I don't know, maybe with someone else.
I don't think so.
How many countries in the world have already elected a woman president? Do you know either one of those? U.S. presidential candidate as a woman, and how many other countries have already elected? Because remember, let me just pause right here. This is the heart of this question. The Declaration of Independence, 1776, a U.S. Constitution. We have set things into place that people model after us, right? Think about it. This democratic state that we have created truly is an experiment, and people have went like, hey, we want that for us. Now, somewhere along the way, we have changed it 27 times, technically 17 times, because the Bill of Rights were like there at the beginning. Thousands of proposals of changing things. But like this thing of when we still have the first of something, and I always pause, like as a teacher, as a learner, as a nerd, but like as someone who's trying to connect things. Other people have taken this democracy and run it along these seemingly more equal lines, at least when it comes to male-female. And it was an interesting question that I didn't look up on purpose because I wanted to see what other people like, what your guess is. Like how many other countries have said, yeah, we'll have a woman in charge. Because I literally, this election cycle, have heard people say, I don't think a woman can be in charge. They don't say that in public, but they say that in private residences because I've heard it more than once. Just like having watermelon and coleslaw this summer, right? People will bring it up. I don't think a woman can be in charge of a country. And these have been people like I look at them and wonder.
I don't know. I really want to grab my phone and look it up.
You're that guy for us.
Is this going to be...
Take a guess before you do.
So if we're talking about the first candidate, are we talking about this person received the nomination of one of the major parties?
Well, no, Hillary Clinton was the first one to do that.
Okay, I thought so.
Okay, so, but a legitimate third-party candidate that had some legitimate support.
You said a third-party candidate?
Sure. I mean, you're going to have to be a third-party candidate. You're running for president, and people say, "Yeah, we'll vote for you."
Yeah.
But they're not on a major ticket because we only have two parties, and no one, a Republican or Democrat, or go early on. No one has allowed a woman to be on their ticket until Clinton and then Harris. I'm asking you, has there been another woman somewhere along the way, though, that was a presidential candidate? Do you know of any?
I don't know of any. I was gonna go. I was gonna go to like Condoleezza Rice running for the ticket, but she didn't get the vote. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Like, was she not a Republican? Was she not in a?
I don't think she ever ran
a
for
Republican primary. She was not. Maybe my mind is playing tricks on me. Then no, I have no clue.
Yeah, nothing. We got over. Did you look something up already?
I've seen other women.
Guess.
I didn't know. Like you talked about, Hillary Clinton. You figured that one, right?
Yeah. No. I was still going for the number of countries.
The countries. I was looking for that. I was looking for.
There's been other women in major party primaries, correct?
Have there?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
Who? That's what I'm asking. Who you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can we name names?
Can I look it up?
Because of course we can. Because I want to capture this moment. We do this a lot. We will talk in generalities with conviction. Yes, there have been, and we can fill in the blank with anything. We can stay in the sports arena. We can stay in the technology arena. We can stay in the political arena. But we really will be in social circles where people are talking, and they will say something with conviction. And it's super general.
And you tend to believe it or not believe it or look it up.
Or we raise our eyebrow or we just, But like, really? Like, I love asking that question. Like,
oh, I got the answer to your
really?
First question, I think.
Who you got?
Victoria Woodhull.
Okay, how far back she go?
1872.
Yeah. Tell me more.
She was the first woman to run for United States president, was a candidate of the Equal Rights Party. Her opponents were Ulysses S. Grant, Horace Greeley. She's born in Homer, Ohio in 1838.
Okay. I know nothing about her. So can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
You know what the irony is of her running for president? Give me the year again. 1872?
Yes.
Okay. She can't even vote for president.
That's funny.
Let alone run for president. I mean, you with me on that? Like,
yeah.
Jeanette Rankin will be elected to Congress out of Montana. Before women can even vote for president, she can vote to pass laws. She can vote for amendments to change the Constitution, and she can't even vote for who the commander-in-chief would be. Is that not crazy?
Yeah, that's wild.
That same election that you're talking about, Sojourner Truth and a bunch of other women, which I bet she's one of them, they go to the polls, and they bully their way, and they cast a vote. And it's found out later that all these women voted when they're not allowed to vote, and they all get arrested. They go to court. But like, they are forcing themselves in because the movement for suffrage, the 15th Amendment says, hey, black men, you can now vote. Well, women were running, the Susan B. Anthonys were running with the Frederick Douglasses for universal suffrage. Like, everybody should get it. Why not now? Well, black men get it, but black women, white women, these other, they're going to have to, Susan B. Anthony will die without ever seeing the 19th Amendment passed. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's crazy. Did you find that other answer?
I don't know. You got to dive because then it talks about just world leaders. You've got that.
Yeah, I guess everybody doesn't have a president.
There's just not president. Like, you've got, what is it? I mean, female presidents of the UK. There's
would
a couple
queen
there.
Count? Like, I don't know if my search would take me to that place. How many countries have had a woman leader? How about in the past 100 years?
And you have prime ministers. I mean,
yeah, because, essentially,
Theresa May was prime minister in 2016.
Fewer than a third of UN member states have ever had a woman leader.
You know Patsy Mink?
Yeah, out of Hawaii. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that is. Looks like she moved to Oregon. She's she was an anti-war candidate in 1972.
It's funny, Jeanette Rankin, who I had mentioned, she votes to keep U.S. out of the war during World War I. She's still in Congress during World War II, and she votes not to go into World War II either. She is a straight pacifist.
In the same year as Patsy Mink, there was this lady named Shirley Chisholm.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't quite get the support, but she's running as a Democrat candidate for the nomination. She don't get it.
So the Washington Post says so this year, 87 countries have had their first female leader.
So yeah, my guess would have been pretty high on that. I don't know if I would have said anywhere near 90. I would have probably said something more in the 30s or the 40s.
How about a presidential candidate where there was an assassination attempt? So Trump, he's given a speech. Holy cow. They hit his ear. I mean, like, former president.
Yeah.
There is an example of a former president who then goes on safari in Africa, hears about his successor and doesn't like how he's running things. He comes home and runs again and gets shot while giving a speech and continues to give his speech for 81 more minutes. Who am I talking about?
Teddy R?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He creates his own party called the Bull Moose Party. And because he splits the vote with Taft and himself, Woodrow Wilson, the Democrat, actually ends up winning. So it'll be Wilson that will keep us out of World War I, and then it will be Wilson who gets us into World War I. And Wilson, I mean, he's a fascinating figure in himself. We could talk on so many elements, but like when I think of Now and Then, which is fifth thing today, I mean, like there's so many things. It's just bonkers right now.
Yeah.
But like there are very few things that will occur if we look, because we find what we're looking for. I mean, there's even a biblical principle in there. We will find that lost coin. We will.
Sure.
If you want to find something so you know that like the Book of Eli isn't about to happen. Anybody love that movie? Mm-hmm. Anybody seen that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of waiting for that day when the Kentucky Fried Chicken wet nap is that valuable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Watch the movie, Josh, so you can laugh.
I'll watch it.
Bro, it's great. It's really good.
Weekend assignment.
There'll be no more cell phones after the Book of Eli. But I think of Now and Then, and it like my brain just starts spinning. I want to know that the world isn't as crazy as people say it is. Not just on TV, but even the people in my own life who think that their grandparent or their grandkids are not going to survive. And I just think every person that says that, look at your generation and look how bonkers that was.
Yeah. But
you were anchored into some sort of hope because there's always within a generation Americans who rise up and say, not on my watch. You know, we'll figure out how to go ahead. And we do, man.
Yeah.
That helps me hold on to hope.
For sure.
Sixth thing, you ready?
Sixth thing.
Last thing.
Okay.
Criminal justice, you ready? I came across something, curiosity, so I did a little, it's not a deep dive, but the first federal law enforcement agency.
It's the U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What established them as U.S. Marshals? It's written into what?
It's written into the Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, this is early. This is George Washington.
Yes,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And what was their job?
It was to
what was their first job?
To bring to like there's nobody to gather in a fugitive. If you commit a crime and you're wanted by the government, there's no who's going to bring you to the government.
Yeah, these guys are.
These guys are. Yeah, that's
so former soldiers would petition George and say, "Hey, I saw you just set this up. Can I get this job?" Like I saw that with like quite a few guys.
Yeah.
He needed to feed his family. He needed a job.
We're talking we're in the 80s, right? 1780s.
Yeah, so this is 1789, ratified 1791.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah. How about that? They had the authority to deputize. So they could just roll in and be like, "Hey, you're rolling with me now." I mean, like the Constitution gave them. So not like the Wild West movies I've always watched and like, you know, somebody gives them that authority and then they give them as long as the badge is on. Like, but if for a guy like me, when the Constitution says that you can do this, I was just absolutely fascinated. Their first job was, officially though, to take the census, the 1790 census.
Yeah, there you go.
To go figure out how many people we had in this country that we just created. Yeah, they were the counters. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, it is.
And then the only time a commander-in-chief has ever led troops into battle was the only. So it wasn't Trump. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't Obama. It wasn't Clinton. It wasn't W. It was there's only been one.
Was it? It's not Teddy R.
No.
It's Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
Not even?
Not as president. Okay. Not as commander-in-chief.
Okay.
Did he mount up and say, let's ride? Except one dude. You get one guess.
George Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. The whiskey rebellion.
That's what I was thinking, but we didn't say that straight off, so I was like, all right, that can't be it.
I'm bad at history, man.
I'm terrible at history, but certain things.
Do y'all know the story of the whiskey rebellion? Do you know this one?
I don't think so.
Okay, so you grow rye. You're a farmer. You grow rye. And the best way to make money off of that is to turn it into whiskey. Okay, so now there's a tax on the whiskey.
No.
So these farmers go in Pennsylvania and go burn a federal building down. Rather than send some folks, George, who has already defeated the British Empire, hops on his horse and said, let's ride.
Light work.
And he takes these fellas with him. Who was the first federal agency? Who's the first law enforcement?
The Marshals.
Yeah, the U.S. Marshals are riding with him. And when he gets there, everybody lays everything down and they stop. Right?
Yeah.
But no other commander-in-chief. Think about some of the presidents we have, and they're the commander-in-chief of our the U.S. military. Yeah. I love Eisenhower being in charge of the U.S. military. He's a commander-in-chief, by golly.
Yeah, sure.
There's some others that I could celebrate. There are others that I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? But I found it fascinating that they're on his back shoulder rolling into the fields of, Pennsylvania and putting down a rebellion and then turn around and going home because we did what we came to do.
And different time period too. I think about that. These guys that would just get on a horse and let's ride. Today, they're not going anywhere without 1,000 people watching them in their big limousine that impact, bullets can't get in there or anything. So it's just a different time period, different way of thinking.
Yeah. I love it that you knew that it was the U.S. Marshals.
Yeah, man.
I was cheering for you.
It's part of our story.
Yeah.
So we got one of my favorite characters in American history is going to come out of there. Bass Reeves. You know his name?
So did you watch that show that they put out?
Absolutely.
Every bit of it? As soon as it came out?
Every bit of it.
Yeah. I love him as an actor. But
he's a great actor. Can't think of his name. He's British, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He played Dr. King in Selma.
That's right.
First,
that's right.
Just fell in love with his character, and I've seen him in other things.
Yeah.
Well, boys, that's 6 things, man.
Cool.
That's what I got today. That was fun.
You really heard someone say a woman couldn't be in charge?
More than once this summer.
I've heard some.
In charge of a country. In charge of a country.
I know.
That's how they kept saying it.
I've heard some crazy things growing up in the South, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. That is wild to me. That is wild. Oh, well.
Are we going to end on that right there? Oh, well. Can that be how we sign off?
Last words.
And that's 6 things, friends. Oh, well.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your catchphrase. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Stop.
We'll keep practicing.
I heard it.
No, you can't steal someone's stuff, man.
Oh, sorry, Mike Rowe.
Oh, no.
Sorry, Mike Rowe.
No, but there's another one back in the day. What was the other one he signed off on? Mike Rowe kind of stole a piece of it. Never. See, now I'm just rambling. I can't end well either.
Oh, you're talking about the one that Mike Rowe
Harvey?
Paul Harvey.
Not Steve Harvey. Paul Harvey. Yeah, what was his called?
And the...
See, I got us on something.
Yeah, you just got to cut it. You got to cut it.
Oh, you can cut us anytime you want to.
Yeah. Oh, no, but it's fun just to you're not pushing this anywhere. You're not doing anything. You're going to listen to this later, and it's just kind of fun to
see. Who was it?
To listen to.
Bruce Almighty, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Man, that's downright mindful. You've been listening to Downright Mindful with your hosts, Matt Paris and Paul Salzville. Produced by Josh Morris. Intro and outro production by Derek Kinsey. You can find us wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. Thanks for listening.